Few days to Nigerian general elections, the Commonwealth Observers Group, which has arrived the country to monitor the elections, yesterday paid a courtesy visit to the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Jacobo, and its management team. Now, the 16-member observers, led by former President of South Africa, His Excellency Thabo Mbeki, has charged the commission to ensure it discharges its statutory role without fear or favor. Now, speaking on behalf of the group, Mbeki said the success of the 2023 general elections depend on INEC chairman and his team. He expressed optimism that the machineries needed for the conduct of election are in place.
So it's always very, very important that as the Commonwealth we should come to be with you as you hold these important elections and to observe, Mr. Chairman, to observe the elections. But of course, we come very hopeful and very confident that we will have successful elections, peaceful elections, inclusive elections, and at the end, hopefully, there should be no complaint. As you would understand, Mr. Chairman, of course, that understanding on our part as observers is important because in the end, we will make a statement about the elections, but even more important, I think, make recommendations about whatever we think in terms about these elections. Therefore, as comprehensive and accurate a picture as possible about the elections becomes important. And INEC, being a central player in that process, is very, very critical that we should listen very carefully to what INEC says about the elections and all other matters related to that. As I said, all matters that would fall within the remit of the INEC, so that we must take all of those on board as we observe and as we comment and as we recommend at the end of all of this.
Responding, the INEC chairman assured the group that the commission will wholeheartedly accept any recommendation President Mbeki's group will turn in after the general elections.
The 2023 general election is the 7th successive general election in Nigeria since the restoration of democracy in 1999. This is the longest period we had electoral democracy. We have a voter population of 93 million. And 93 million means that we have 16.7 million more voters than the other 14 countries in West Africa put together. So each time Nigerians go to the polls, it's like the whole of West Africa and beyond voting. Such is the sheer size of elections in Nigeria. We have benefited from your previous election observation reports. So much of the innovations introduced over time has benefited from your observation report. So we don't take your observations lightly. Your recommendations that require administrative action by the Commission, we just went ahead and implemented those recommendations. Those requiring legislation or amendment, particularly of the subsidiary legislation, the Electoral Act, we engage with the National Assembly to provide the necessary legislation. And those that require amendment to the grand norm, the Constitution, we also liaise with the National Assembly to do so. And some that require subsidiary legislation in addition to the Electoral Act, we also came in handy by way of regulations and guidelines. So the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and our regulations and guidelines constitute the electoral legal framework to govern the conduct of elections. Election is a process essentially governed by law. So once again, on behalf of the Commission, I would like to thank you for the recommendations made in previous elections, and we look forward to the recommendations that we are going to come up with after your observation of this election. It is these recommendations that have kept us going in terms of the review and reform and improvement of the electoral process.
The INEC boss told his guests that the commission is up to speed and has so far achieved all the milestones set up for the election, except the election day activities, which he said will also be delivered successfully, adding that INEC remains apolitical and will deliver the mandate of the Nigerian citizens.